Tesla is still pushing to have the ability to sell their cars directly to consumers here in Connecticut. The bill is angering other car dealers who believe it gives Tesla an unfair advantage by essentially cutting out the middleman.
For decades, there's been a law banning you and I from being able to buy a Tesla, new one, here in Connecticut. Now, when I started asking questions about this, I had no idea how this was the tip of the iceberg. It's a story of automotive dealerships, Connecticut legislators, monopolies, and us consumers left in the balance.
50% of all new EVs registered in the DMV file are Teslas. So you have 5,879 people leaving the state going to New York to get their Teslas.
Background information. One of the reasons you've been able to continue for so long is that you haven't had bills like this before you. So we understand. Other questions?
Now, before I take you down this rabbit hole, there's a glimmer of hope. Tesla has opened up a showroom here in the past 6 months. How they do it?
How is Tesla able to get around this law? Well, it's all because we are on tribal land here at Mohegan.
And while that Mohegan location is such a cool spot, and frankly, makes it so much easier for everyone here in Connecticut, it's not going to fix the future. Having one Tesla sales center across the entire state, it's not practical. The other key loophole here is that there's technically a location in Milford, but Milford is for service and for leasing. They can't sell cars there, but they can lease them and they can service them. In addition, you have mobile service that comes straight out to you, and you don't even have to go anywhere. The vast majority of repairs can be completed with mobile service. Let's break it down. An automotive dealership is not the manufacturer. When you go to a dealer to buy a car, when you buy a Ford or a Chevy, you don't buy it from Ford or Chevy. You buy it from a dealer who is a middleman there to help you. Now, decades ago, this was immensely helpful because the internet didn't exist. Back in the day, this dealership model was a win for all. More business with less headaches. Dealerships were worried about manufacturers steamrolling them and putting in their own locations that would compete with the dealerships that they opened and invested money in. So laws were set up across the nation where you couldn't open up a manufacturer to sell directly to the consumer. You had to have this sort of middleman dealership in place. These laws were set up to govern a franchisor, a manufacturer, and a franchisee, a dealer. They weren't designed to block out a whole different model, but they've been abused, as you'll soon see. Let's fast forward now to today, 21st century.
Tesla's never had a franchisor-franchisee relationship with anyone around the world. So there's no concern about us unfairly competing with our franchisees because we simply don't have them. It's essential to educate each customer about the economic advantages of EVs, the emission reduction impact, and the availability of charging. Tesla believed we were best suited to communicate these advantages to our customers, and the results have borne that out. And Tesla has every intention of opening up sales locations in Connecticut.
If you wanted to buy a solar array for your house or stationary power and an electric vehicle, you're not going to Hoffman Ford. I mean, you're going to Tesla, and unfortunately you can't do that right now.
With every state around us allowing for direct sales, that Connecticut should develop a policy that makes sense for our constituents as well.
So Tesla doesn't use franchise dealerships worldwide. So why are we protecting auto dealerships against them?
My name is Jeff Iosa. I serve as the legislative co-chair of the Connecticut Automotive Retailers Association, also known as CARA, which proudly represents 270 new car dealers and their 14,000 employees.
These companies sell electric vehicles. Our members sell electric vehicles today and will be adding more in the future. They sell the same product. They should play by the same rules.
The automotive dealership lobby is massive.
We oppose that because they're not geared up and suited to take care of customers in a proper way.
The 14,000 employees of this state in our dealerships rely on the franchise system, It's obviously the protection for their jobs.
At the expense of not only the consumer, but also the 270 locally owned new car dealers in Connecticut and their 14,000 employees.
I think will result in job loss for sure.
I mean, would there be job loss? Doesn't Tesla have to employ people? How would Tesla coming in just immediately destroy every other business? They have. I still see dealerships around. The only reason they'd fail is because they'd fail to adapt. They'd fail to be a part of the future.
I believe that SB 27 undermines the state franchise law by creating an unlevel playing field.
Locally owned dealerships rely on franchise laws to provide a level playing field with large corporations.
The dealership lobby will tell you that there's an unlevel playing field against them, but in fact, it's the exact opposite. They have the monopoly. Nobody else can open up stores. So how is it unlevel? Wouldn't it level it out if everybody was able to compete? And let's remember that there's already corporate places to buy cars. You can buy used cars from CarMax or from Carvana or any of these other places that sell used cars. It's not that corporate places haven't been around for quite a while, and we still see dealerships.
The advocacy and the consumer protection, I think, is what I see as most vulnerable. And it's not about not driving electric, and it's not about competition.
Dealerships provide really crucial consumer protection laws, and I want to make sure this committee recognizes that those consumer protection laws would stay in place under this legislation.
That's exactly correct. It's just like, if you buy an iPhone from Apple, you're going to have the same exact protection as if you go to the Verizon store, or if you go to Best Buy, or if you buy it on Amazon. That doesn't change. In fact, cars are the only thing I can think of where you can only buy it through a dealer, where you're not allowed to buy it anyplace else. And if they truly believe their model is best, we'll let them compete. We'll see who wins out in the end. But don't block them. Don't create a monopoly just for dealerships. Is that fair? Is that American?
Really important to note that there are a variety of new electric vehicle manufacturers who have entered the market, and they've done so via a direct sale model.
Not just Tesla anymore. It's Rivian, it's Lucid, it's any other manufacturer that doesn't believe that the dealership model is best. Why is it the dealership's job to figure out what model is best and choose for every consumer of Connecticut?
And there are a number of manufacturers right on Rivian and Lucid's heels that are startups that want to enter the market soon. They too would be able to sell directly. All of these manufacturers would have an advantage over our members.
All Connecticut retailers are fully committed to selling EVs.
We are very excited about it. We embrace it, and we look forward to, as we have over the past 100 years, being nimble and flexible and rising to the challenge.
My name is Barry Kresh, and I am the president of the EV Club of Connecticut. They should be wondering why a much smaller company like Tesla, which can't even open stores here, was responsible for 68% of the net increase in EV registrations in the state over the past 12 months. I analyzed 5+ years of cheaper data, and during this period, only 5 dealers awarded 100 or more incentives. 61% awarded fewer than 10.
But in fact, it's not just sales that have been blocked. Tesla's tried to set up new service centers around Connecticut. In some situations, they've been blocked again. In East Hartford, the town was sued for trying to allow Tesla to be able to open up a service center, not to sell cars, but to service them. And they were still sued, and the town eventually had to drop it and bow down to the dealers because they're just so powerful. And they use their power and influence to make sure they'll be the only ones here, a giant monopoly.
Consumer choice and innovation that other states will benefit from will not be available to citizens of the state of Connecticut.
Direct sales are not going to cost the state anything. Instead, they're going to generate revenue through the sales tax.
We are in the middle of a revolution. This is a complete transition and transformation.
Tesla's demonstrated that the sales of direct cars without the franchise model apparently works, and it works well. I'll explain. They're far ahead of the rest of the auto industry.
If we don't open the doors in Connecticut, other states are going to take the lead.
Dealers want to keep their monopoly and don't want anybody else in.
I think by next year, there will be more choices and more electric vehicles sold than Tesla in the state of Connecticut, for sure. The only way Tesla will survive is if they franchise. There'll be such a small niche business if they can't scale, and if they're going to sell 2 million units, it'll be really hard to do it direct. It's just a very, I think it'll be too hard.
So basically, it's a situation of, if we can't sell the cars, nobody can. I'll leave you with this. In the past few months, there's been legislation introduced to attempt to phase out internal combustion engine sales. And whether you agree with that or you don't, the same people who are totally against this type of ban won't look at, won't recognize, and won't do anything about the current active ban on Tesla and Rivian that's been in effect for the past 10 years. But why? If you want to let the free market decide, let people compete. Let Tesla come in and solve the issue without having to mandate anything. Let the free market decide. But they won't, because it's not in favor of what they want. Hypocrisy at its finest. So that wraps up today's video. If you live in Connecticut and you've had to buy a Tesla or Rivian, and you have a story to share, put it down below. I'd love for this video to be a repository of tons of different stories across the state of craziness that we have to go through. Hopefully this catches wind and people see it and something gets done about this. This has been an issue that I've been fighting on for many years, as well as tons of people from Tesla Owners Club of Connecticut, EV Club, Tesla, Rivian, Lucid, amongst a whole other host of organizations. And we still haven't won yet, but hopefully we will soon, and hopefully this video raises awareness about it. I've never taken YouTube super seriously. I have a few videos here and there, but I think maybe I'll start posting a little bit more regularly. So if you're interested in Tesla, tech, communications, telecom, green energy, Elon, and just a Gen Z, generation's perspective on these things coming from someone who gets it, subscribe, and maybe you'll see me again.